A Roman soldier shoves a spear through a man's rib cage. Blood pours out. Then water. The heart stops beating. The lungs stop moving. The man stops breathing. In any other case in history, this would be the end of the story. Case closed. The subject is dead. But right now, today, nearly 2 billion people on Earth say it never happened. They say the crucifixion of Jesus Christ was a cosmic illusion, a case of mistaken identity, a divine rescue mission. They say God replaced him at the last second, that someone else died on that cross, and the stakes couldn't be higher. If they are right, then Christianity is the greatest fraud in human history. 2,000 years of lies, billions of people deceived. The cross is a symbol of nothing, but if the Bible is right, then it is the single most important moment in the timeline of the universe. The moment God bled for you. Today, we are not debating theology. We are examining bodies. We are looking at ancient Roman execution records. We are analyzing medical pathology. We are reading the testimonies of men who hated Jesus. And we are asking the question that divides the world. Did Jesus of Nazareth die on that cross? Or did he escape? Let's look at the execution. Before we open the Bible, let me show you something that destroys most conspiracy theories immediately. The people who hated Christianity, the people who wanted to destroy it, confirmed that Jesus was crucified. Now, you might be thinking, of course Christians say he died. You're biased. Fair point. So let me show you what people who despised Christianity said about it. In historical research, there is a principle called the criterion of embarrassment. It essentially says, when your enemies admit something that helps your case, it is almost certainly true. Let's call the witnesses. Witness number 1. Tacitus. Tacitus was a Roman senator and historian. He despised Christians, called them a deadly superstition and hatred of the human race. This man had every reason to deny the crucifixion ever happened. He could have written, Christians worship a fictional character. The crucifixion never occurred. But instead, he wrote, Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate. Extreme penalty. That is Roman code for crucifixion. A Roman senator, hostile to Christianity, confirming Jesus died under Roman execution. Witness number 2. Josephus. Josephus was a Jewish historian, a Pharisee, not a believer, not a Christian. He had every political and religious reason to deny the crucifixion. Yet he wrote, at this time there was a wise man called Jesus. Pilate condemned him to be crucified and to die. Crucified and to die. Witness number 3. Lucian of Samosata. Lucian was a Greek satirist who mocked Christians mercilessly. He thought they were idiots for worshiping a dead man. He wrote that Christians worship the man who was crucified in Palestine. Do you see the pattern? Romans confirm it. Jews confirm it. Greeks confirm it. These are hostile witnesses. They had every reason to say, the crucifixion never happened. This is Christian propaganda. But they don't. They all confirm. Jesus of Nazareth was executed by Rome. The only debate in the ancient world isn't whether he died. It's what happened 3 days later. And here's what makes this even more powerful. No one in the ancient world would invent a crucified Messiah. Think about it. The Jews were expecting a conquering king, someone to overthrow Rome, restore David's throne, kick out the pagans. The Romans worshipped strength, power, military dominance. The Greeks valued wisdom, philosophy, intellectual achievement. A crucified God was offensive to everyone. Paul himself admitted it. We preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles. Crucifixion was the most shameful, humiliating death imaginable. It was reserved for slaves, rebels, and the worst criminals. Victims were stripped naked in public, mocked, spat on, left to die slowly while crowds watched. So if the early church wanted to fabricate a story, if they wanted to invent a religion to gain followers, why would they say their Messiah was stripped naked in public, beaten beyond recognition, nailed to wood like a common criminal, hung between two thieves, left to die in shame? You don't invent your own humiliation. You don't fabricate your own scandal. If this was fiction, they would have said, he died heroically in battle, or ascended in a chariot of fire like Elijah, or was crowned king and overthrew Rome. But they didn't. They said he was crucified. Why? Because that is what actually happened. The historical record is unanimous. Now, I can already hear the objection. Okay, maybe he was crucified, but that doesn't mean he actually died. Maybe he survived. Maybe he fainted and woke up later. Fair question. So, let's talk biology. There is a theory called the swoon theory. It suggests that Jesus didn't die on the cross. He merely fainted from pain and blood loss. He was taken down alive, placed in the tomb, and the cool air revived him. To believe this, you have to ignore everything we know about Roman execution. Let me paint you a picture of what surviving crucifixion would actually require. Before crucifixion even began, Roman law required scourging. This wasn't a whipping. This was systematic destruction of the human body. The Roman flagrum was not a simple whip. It was a wooden handle with multiple leather cords. Embedded in those cords were lead balls to bruise deep tissue, jagged sheep bones to tear flesh, metal hooks to rip muscle from bone. Ancient historians record that the flagrum would strip the flesh off the back, exposing the ribs, the spine, and sometimes the internal organs. Many prisoners died from the scourging alone before they ever saw a cross. The Jewish law limited lashes to 39 to prevent death. Romans had no such limit. By the time Jesus reached Golgotha, he was already in hypovolemic shock. His heart rate was racing. His blood pressure was plummeting. His kidneys were beginning to fail. His body was shutting down. And the execution hadn't even started yet. Here's the medical reality that most people miss. Crucifixion doesn't kill you by blood loss. It kills you by suffocation. When you hang by your arms, the weight of your body pulls your ribcage into a locked position. You can inhale, air can get in, but you cannot exhale, air cannot get out. Carbon dioxide builds up in your lungs. You begin to suffocate. To breathe out, you have to push yourself up on the nails in your feet. Imagine the mechanics of that. To get a single breath of air, you have to push down on a nail driven through the nerves of your feet, the worst pain imaginable. Scrape your shredded, raw back against the rough wood of the cross. Use core and leg muscles that are in total exhaustion. You push up. You gasp for air. You collapse down in agony. You do this over and over and over for hours. Eventually, exhaustion sets in. Your legs give out. You can no longer push up, and you suffocate. The Gospel of John records something crucial. The soldiers came to speed up the executions before the Sabbath. They broke the legs of the two thieves crucified beside Jesus so they couldn't push up to breathe. Death would come in minutes. But when they came to Jesus, he was already dead. To make absolutely sure, a Roman centurion, a professional executioner, trained to recognize death, thrust a spear up under his ribcage. John, chapter 19, verse 34, records, bringing a sudden flow of blood and water. Blood and water. This is a specific medical detail that John, a fisherman, could not have invented. It's called pericardial effusion. When the body undergoes extreme trauma and heart failure, clear fluid collects around the heart and in the lungs. When the spear pierced the pericardium and the heart, the clear fluid came out first, followed by blood. It is medical proof of heart failure. And if there's any doubt, a spear through the heart kills you. So let me ask you directly, does this sound survivable to you? Here's what the swoon theory requires you to believe. A man who had been flayed alive, back shredded to the bone, lost liters of blood, hypovolemic shock, had nails driven through the nerves of his wrists and feet, suffered 6 hours of asphyxiation, had a spear driven through his heart, was declared dead by professional Roman executioners, somehow survived 3 days in a sealed stone tomb with no food, no water, no medical care, recovered enough strength to move a 2-ton stone from the inside, overpowered or snuck past trained Roman guards whose lives depended on guarding that tomb, walked miles on feet, pierced by iron spikes, appeared to his disciples looking so healthy, so radiant, so powerful, that they fell down and worshipped him as the conqueror of death. Does that sound reasonable to you? A bleeding, broken, half-dead survivor gasping for medical help does not inspire a religion. He inspires an ambulance call. The swoon theory isn't just improbable, it's medically insane. It requires a bigger miracle than resurrection. Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, the swoon theory doesn't work. But what about the other explanation? The one believed by billions of people today? Good question. Let's talk about it. For 600 years after the crucifixion, the world seemed settled. Romans recorded it. Jews confirmed it. The disciples died, proclaiming it. Jesus of Nazareth was crucified under Pontius Pilate. But in the 7th century, a new text appeared with a radically different claim. The Quran, in Surah 4, verse 157, states, "They did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but another was made to resemble him to them." This is known as the substitution theory. It says that God, in his mercy, rescued Jesus from the cross at the last moment. God made someone else, perhaps Judas, perhaps Simon of Cyrene, perhaps a volunteer, look exactly like Jesus. The Romans crucified the wrong guy. Jesus ascended to heaven, unharmed. Now, I want to be clear. This belief comes from a high view of God's power and a sincere desire to honor Jesus as a beloved prophet. The logic goes, God would never allow his prophet to suffer such a shameful death. Therefore, it didn't happen. I respect that motivation, but let's follow this logic to its conclusion. Because if we think through what the substitution theory actually requires, we run into a devastating problem. If the substitution theory is true, then God is the author of the greatest deception in human history. Let me show you what I mean. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was standing at the foot of the cross. The Gospel of John records that she was there, watching. She watched this man scream in agony. She watched him bleed. She watched the nails go through his hands. She watched him struggle for every breath. She watched him die. If that was a substitute, if God changed someone else's face to look like her son, then God tricked a mother. He made her watch a stranger being tortured to death while she believed it was her own child. Does that sound like the God of mercy? John was there, the beloved disciple. He was standing next to Mary. Mary Magdalene was there. She watched from a distance. After Jesus died, they prepared his body for burial. They wrapped him in linen. They applied spices. They touched him. If it was a fake, they were fooled by a divine illusion. God performed a miracle to deceive his own followers. Here's where it gets worse. Those deceived disciples, Peter, John, Mary Magdalene, went out and preached that Jesus had died and risen again. They started Christianity based on this event. Christianity, which Islam calls a false religion that led billions astray, was launched by God's own miracle. Think about that. God performed a supernatural deception at the cross. And that deception accidentally started the world's largest religion, a religion based on a lie that God created. Does that make sense? Would the God of truth perform a miracle that leads billions into falsehood? But it gets even worse. Because those deceived disciples didn't just preach, they died for what they believed they saw. Peter, crucified upside down in Rome, could have recanted, chose death. Andrew, crucified on an X-shaped cross, preached for 2 days while dying, James, son of Zebedee, beheaded by Herod Agrippa. First apostle martyred. Philip, crucified in Hierapolis, Turkey. Bartholomew, flayed alive, skinned for preaching Christ. Thomas, speared to death in India, died proclaiming the resurrection. Matthew, stabbed to death in Ethiopia. James, son of Alphaeus, stoned and clubbed to death in Jerusalem. Thaddeus, killed with arrows in Persia. Simon the Zealot, crucified in Persia. Every single one of them could have saved himself by saying, "Okay, you got us. We made it up." It was a lie. He didn't really die and rise, but they didn't. They went to their deaths proclaiming, "We saw him crucified. We saw him buried. We saw him risen. And nothing, not torture, not death, will make us deny it." If the substitution theory is true, these men were tortured to death for a lie that God created. They became martyrs for a divine prank. Does that sound like the God of truth? Or does it sound like a theory invented 600 years after the fact to explain away a historical event that didn't fit a new theology? Let me ask you this. Can you worship a God who deceives? The Quran itself says in Surah 3 verse 54, "And they, the disbelievers, planned, but Allah planned. And Allah is the best of planners." But there's a difference between planning and deceiving. A plan is strategic. Deception is dishonest. The substitution theory doesn't just require God to have a plan. It requires him to deceive a mother, deceive the disciples, create the world's largest false religion, let innocent men die for a lie he orchestrated. You can't say God would never let his prophet be humiliated, and then claim God created the greatest humiliation in history, a deception that led billions astray for 2,000 years. You can't have it both ways. Either God values truth, and Jesus actually died, or God is a cosmic deceiver who has been fooling the world for 2 millennia. I know which God I believe in. The one who doesn't lie, the one who keeps his word, the one who wrote the script 700 years early and fulfilled every single detail. Wait, did I just say, wrote the script 700 years early? Yes, and this is where it gets truly mind-blowing, because the crucifixion wasn't an accident. It was a plan written in blood centuries before it happened. Let me show you something that will make your skin crawl. Skeptics often say, maybe the disciples just made up the crucifixion story to fit Old Testament prophecies. That's a fair theory, except for one problem. The prophecies are too specific, and the details are too bizarre to fabricate. Let me show you. This psalm was written by King David around 1000 BC. That's 1,000 years before Jesus. At that time, crucifixion didn't exist in Israel. It hadn't even been invented yet. The Persians wouldn't develop it for another 500 years. The Romans wouldn't perfect it for another 1,000 years. And yet, listen to what David wrote in verse 16. "Dogs surround me. A pack of villains encircles me. They pierce my hands and my feet. They pierce my hands and my feet." How does a poet describe a method of execution that won't exist for centuries? But wait, there's more. Verse 18. "They divide my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment." Fast forward 1,000 years. Jesus is on the cross. Roman soldiers who had never read the Jewish Psalms, who didn't care about prophecy, are sitting at the foot of the cross. And what are they doing? Gambling, casting lots for his clothing. Now, if Jesus was a substitute, if God swapped him with someone else, you have to believe the substitute happened to be wearing clothes valuable enough to gamble for. The Roman soldiers, by pure coincidence, decided to cast lots instead of just dividing them, accidentally fulfilling a 1,000-year-old prophecy while executing the wrong guy. I don't have that much faith in coincidence, but here's the detail that seals it. Verse 1 of Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me?" These are the exact words Jesus screams from the cross. Matthew chapter 27, verse 46, records it. He's not just suffering. He's identifying himself as the fulfillment of this prophecy. He's saying, I am the one David wrote about, the Messiah who would be pierced, mocked, abandoned, killed. This chapter is so clearly about Jesus that some Jewish traditions avoid reading it in public. It's sometimes called the forbidden chapter. Listen to what Isaiah wrote 700 years before Jesus was born. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. Pierced, crushed, punished. This isn't accidental suffering. This is substitutionary sacrifice. He's taking someone else's punishment. Verse 7, he was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter. Jesus stood silent before Pilate, made no defense, spoke no word in his own defense. Like a lamb to the slaughter. But here's the detail that is impossible to guess. Verse 9, he was assigned a grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death. Wait, read that again. A grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death. That's a contradiction. Criminals the wicked were thrown into mass graves or ditches. No burial, no tomb. Rich people had private tombs. Expensive, honorable. You don't get both, unless you look at what actually happened to Jesus. He was crucified between two thieves, the wicked, but he was buried in the private tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, a rich man. How does a prophet living 700 years earlier predict that specific, contradictory detail? How does he know the Messiah will die with criminals, but be buried with the wealthy? The odds are astronomical, unless the death wasn't an accident, unless it wasn't a mistake, unless it wasn't a defeat, unless it was a plan, written in ink, sealed in prophecy, fulfilled on a Roman cross. But there's one more prophecy that destroys the substitution theory completely, and it's hiding in plain sight. Psalm 34, verse 20. He keeps all his bones. Not one of them is broken. Now watch what happens at the crucifixion. The soldiers come to speed up the executions before the Sabbath. They break the legs of the two thieves so they can't push up to breathe. Death comes in minutes. They come to Jesus, but he's already dead, so they don't break his legs. John, who witnessed this, writes in John chapter 19, verse 36, these things happened so that the scripture would be fulfilled. Not one of his bones will be broken. If this was a substitution, you need to believe. A look-alike who happened to die at the exact right moment, so the soldiers wouldn't break his legs, fulfilling a 1,000-year-old prophecy by accident. Or, this is exactly who the prophet said it would be. The Lamb of God, the suffering servant, the Messiah, dying exactly as God planned from the foundation of the world. The death wasn't plan B, it was plan A, written in prophecy, sealed in blood, fulfilled on a Roman cross outside Jerusalem. But the prophecies aren't the only proof, because what Jesus said while dying proves something even more profound. These weren't the gasps of a victim. They were the authoritative declarations of God. Crucifixion victims don't give speeches. They scream, they curse, they beg for water, they plead for mercy. Roman historians describe men hanging for days, delirious with pain, shrieking obscenities at their executioners. But Jesus spoke 7 times from the cross. And these weren't the desperate gasps of a dying man. They were the calm, authoritative declarations of a king conducting business. Let me walk you through them, because in these 7 statements, you'll see something no ordinary man, no mere prophet, has the right or power to say. Picture the scene. He's in agony. Nails through his wrists, crown of thorns digging into his skull, blood pouring down his face. Soldiers are mocking him. The crowd is jeering. His own people are shouting, "Crucify him." And his first words? Forgiveness. Not for his friends, not for his followers, for his executioners. What does a normal man say when dying in agony? I'm innocent. This is wrong. Curse you. I hope you burn. Why is this happening to me? What does Jesus say? Father, forgive them. Who has the authority to forgive sins against God? Only God. Who has the compassion to forgive in the moment of torture? Only perfect love. Who intercedes for their murderers while being murdered? No one, except him. This isn't survival instinct. This isn't the reflex of a good man. This is divine authority. There's a criminal hanging next to Jesus, a thief, a guilty man, justly condemned. He says, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus, dying, gasping for breath, in the worst pain imaginable, responds, "Today, you will be with me in paradise." Wait, stop, think about what just happened. This man is dying. He has no political power, no earthly kingdom, no throne. He's being executed between two criminals like a slave, and yet he promises with absolute certainty that today, this thief will enter paradise. Not someday, not maybe, not if you're good enough. Today. What does a normal dying man say? "I hope there's something after this. Maybe we'll meet again someday. I'll pray for you." What does Jesus say? "Today, you will be with me in paradise." Not hope. Certainty. Not maybe. Guarantee. Not a paradise. My paradise. Who can guarantee someone's eternal destiny with a single sentence? Who can promise paradise to a criminal who's done nothing to earn it? Who has the keys to heaven and death? Only God. A prophet doesn't have this authority. A good teacher can't make this promise. A mere man would be insane to claim this. But Jesus does. Because he is the door. He is the way. He is the resurrection and the life. This one sentence destroys the idea that he's just a prophet. Prophets point to the way. Jesus claims to be the way. Even in agony, Jesus looks down and sees his mother Mary standing with John. He's thinking about her future, her provision, her care after he's gone. He says to Mary, "Woman, behold your son." He says to John, "Behold your mother." This is fully human love. A son caring for his mother, making sure she won't be alone. But it's also priestly authority. He's establishing a new family. John represents all disciples. Mary represents the church. Even in suffering, he's building his kingdom. This is the heart of a shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. Darkness covers the land for 3 hours. The sun refuses to shine, and Jesus screams, "Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani." My God, why have you abandoned me? This is the cry that shakes heaven and earth. This is the only time in all of eternity that the Son experiences separation from the Father. Why? Because at this moment, he is bearing the sin of the world. Your sin, my sin, the weight of every lie, every betrayal, every murder, every rape, every act of genocide, every evil thought from Adam to the end of time. The Bible says God cannot look upon sin. His holiness is too pure, his justice too fierce. So the Father, who has loved the Son from before the foundation of the world, turns his face away. And Jesus, who has known perfect communion with the Father since before time began, experiences the hell of separation. This is the cup he prayed about in Gethsemane. "Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours." It wasn't the physical pain he dreaded most. It was this, the cosmic loneliness, the spiritual horror, the wrath of God poured out. And here's why this matters. If he didn't actually die, if God rescued him from the cross at the last second, then this cry is a lie. Then the separation never happened. Then the sin was never paid for. Then the cup was never drunk. But Jesus experienced it. He drank the cup to the bottom. He endured the wrath of God, the wrath that should have fallen on you, so that you would never have to. This isn't the cry of a man pretending. This is the cry of God Almighty bearing the punishment for humanity's rebellion. Fully human, fully dying, dehydrated, in shock, suffering. And John tells us why Jesus said this. so that scripture would be fulfilled. Even in his thirst, he's fulfilling prophecy. Psalm 69, verse 21. For my thirst, they gave me sour wine. Every detail, even this, was written centuries before it happened. In Greek, it's one word, tetelestai. This word has a very specific meaning in the ancient world. Archaeologists have found it stamped on ancient tax receipts when a debt was paid in full. It was written on criminal records when a sentence was completed. It was shouted in the marketplace when a transaction was done. Paid in full. The work is complete. The debt is satisfied. Jesus isn't saying, I'm finished. He's declaring, the work is complete. The debt is paid. The sacrifice is accepted. This isn't defeat. This is victory. What does a dying victim say? It's over. I can't go on. Help me, please. Why? What does Jesus say? It is finished. No one is taking his life from him. He's giving it, willingly, authoritatively, completely. This is the moment every Old Testament sacrifice was pointing to. Every Passover lamb, every scapegoat, every sin offering, they were all shadows. This is the reality. The Lamb of God taking away the sin of the world, and he announces it with kingly authority. Tetelestai, his final breath, not in fear, not in despair, in trust. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. He doesn't lose his life. He releases it. And then he bows his head, and he dies. The earth quakes. The temple veil 60 feet tall, 4 inches thick tears from top to bottom. Tombs break open. The sky goes dark. And the Roman centurion, the executioner who just killed him, falls to his knees and says, truly this man was the Son of God. These 7 words are the fingerprints of divinity. No ordinary dying man has the clarity to forgive his enemies. No mere prophet has the authority to promise paradise. No human being can declare the entire work of redemption, complete with a single word. These are the words of God dying for his people. And if he didn't actually die, if this was theater, if it was staged, then these words are the cruelest lie ever spoken. But they're not. They're the sound of infinite love, meeting infinite justice, and paying a debt you and I could never pay. Let me ask you something. What if you're wrong? What if Jesus actually did die on that cross? What if he actually did rise from the dead? What if the God of the universe became flesh, allowed himself to be tortured, and died in your place? Then what? Then it means every sin you've ever committed, every lie, every betrayal, every moment of hatred, every secret shame has been paid for. It means the wrath you deserve fell on him. It means the death you earned, he died. It means the tomb is empty because death couldn't hold him. And it means he's offering you a choice. You can reject it. You can say, I don't believe it. But you can't say it doesn't matter. Because if this is true, it changes everything. And if you're wrong, you've rejected the only payment for your sin. That's the stakes. So here's the verdict. Historical witnesses confirm he died. Tacitus, Josephus, Lucian, even enemies of Christianity. Medical evidence confirms he died. Scourging, asphyxiation, spear through the heart, pericardial effusion. Logical evidence confirms it wasn't a trick. The substitution theory makes God a deceiver and creates more problems than it solves. Prophetic evidence confirms it was planned. Psalm 22, Isaiah 53, written centuries before, fulfilled in specific detail. His own words confirm his divine authority. 7 statements from the cross that no mere man could speak. Jesus of Nazareth died on a Roman cross. But why? Why would God allow this? Why would he write this script? Because of you. The Bible says that the wages of sin is death. A holy God cannot pretend sin didn't happen. Justice demands payment. Someone has to pay the debt. Either you pay it, or he pays it for you. The cross wasn't a tragedy. It was an exchange. The sinless one took the punishment. The guilty ones, you and me, got the freedom. But if the story ended there, Jesus would just be another dead hero, a martyr, a tragedy. But the story doesn't end in the dark, because 3 days later, something happened that no one expected. The tomb was empty. The stone was rolled away. The guards were unconscious. The grave clothes were folded, and the disciples who had fled in terror, who had denied him, who had hidden in locked rooms, suddenly became fearless preachers, willing to die for one message. We saw him. He is alive. Liars don't die for lies they invented. Cowards don't become martyrs for a fairy tale. And empty tombs don't explain themselves. Something happened, something world-shattering, something that turned 11 terrified fishermen into men who turned the Roman Empire upside down. Next episode, the empty tomb, the evidence they can't explain, the witnesses they can't silence, the resurrection that changed everything. Because if Jesus stayed dead, Christianity is finished. But if he rose, then every word he spoke is true. Every promise he made is guaranteed. And death is not the end. Subscribe now, because this isn't just history. This is your eternity. And if you're wrestling with this, if you're not sure, let me give you a challenge. Pray right now, even if you don't believe. Say, Jesus, if you're real, show me. If this is true, I need to know. He'll answer, I promise you. He will. The cross is a fact. The tomb is empty. The question is, what will you do with the man who walked out of it?